Guys, in the last video we were here and I wanted to explain why x is 5 and why x is 10. Remember, if we have 0 that side, we take each bracket and equate it to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0, or x minus 10 equals 0. And then this side we just take 5 to the other side, so x will be 5 and x will be 10. And then I said to you, we need to check the solutions. So now, how do you check the solutions? You check the solutions using your calculator. So now, what was the value of x? The value of x was 5. So now let's say we check for 5 using your calculator. Oh, let's write the equation. The equation is, okay, sorry. So now guys, in this problem, the last time I just said x is 5 and x is 10. So now remember, by product rule, if we have 0 that side, we take each bracket and equate it to 0. Take each bracket and equate it to 0. So now x minus 5 is 0, or x minus 10 is 0. So x will be 5 and x will be 10. So that's how I got 5 and 10. So now in the last point, I said you check, I said you check your solutions. So now I'm going to show you how do you check your solutions. You check them by substituting each value in the right hand side and in the left hand side. So now let's substitute. Let's say we're checking for, let's say we're checking for x equal 5. Let me use this. So now what is the value of x? So we have 5 minus 1 plus 3 equal. What is x here? What is x there? It's 5 minus 4. So now here we will have 5 minus 1, that's 4, and then plus 3 equal. What's 5 minus 1? That's 1. So square root of 4 is 2 plus 3 equal 1. So 5 equal 1. So now, what do you notice about right hand side and left hand side? They are not equal. So that means x is not equal to 5. The conclusion is very important. So now let's check for x equal 10. Where we see x, we just put 10. So we will have 10 minus 1 plus 3 equal 10 minus 4. So now in your calculator, if you put this thing, we will have the square root of 10 minus 1 plus 3. So the answer will be 6. So what is 10 minus 4? That's 6. So are you aware for this one, right hand side is equal to left hand side? So now the value of x equal 10 is correct. So now guys, after having discussed the types and what is important in equations, so now I want us to go through these problems, which I name them as more clarity on equations. So now we're killing everything. We want to understand these things. So now let's look at the first question. You need to ask yourself, which type do you have here? I think we have type 1. Because what type 1 said that we have a binomial with a constant. So now, how do we solve this thing? The idea was you transpose the constant and take the square root with plus or minus. So now that's what we're going to do. Since we have type 1 having a binomial with a constant, so we are going to transpose the constant. So now what is our constant in this regard? Is this 25. So we will have x squared equal, the 25 is negative. If it goes to that side, it will be positive. So we have this thing, x squared equal 25. And then the second point was we take the square root with plus or minus. So we take the square root on both sides with plus or minus. So now here the square root we'll cancel that 2. And then we left with x. We still have plus or minus. So now what is the square root of 25? That's 5. So now we can just separate this thing. So x will be 5 or x will be minus 5. Done. This is type 1. This is how you solve type 1. So now let's look at the second question. Which type is the second question? We have the binomial with a variable. So we have ax squared plus bx equals 0. So now how do you solve that one? You factorize by x and use product rule. So now let's go ahead and do that. So now, but are you aware it's not in the form? Remember what I said. We don't need a number on that side. So we need to get rid of that 10x. Get it to the other side so that we get 0. So that we can do our thing. So x squared, the 10 is positive. If it go to that side, it will be negative. Equal 0. Guys, every time you get 0 on the other side, I think you must jump. This pen, I think every time you get 0, I think you must jump because you are close to getting the answer. So now, which type do we have here? I said it's a binomial with a variable. So you factorize by x. So now let's factorize by x. If we take x, inside the bracket we will have x minus 10. Because if we multiply this, we get x squared. This by this, we get 10x. We still have is equals to 0. So now, the product rule says if you are multiplying two things and the answer is 0 and the product is 0, that means each part can be 0. So now we're multiplying x with x minus 10. That's more like a and b. So your a is 0 or your b, which is x minus 10, is 0. And then here we just clean up. So x will be, if we take 10 to the other side, x will be 10. That's how you solve type 2. So now let's come to this one. Remember, the idea here is simple. We must have 0 here. If we don't have 0 there, we can't do anything. But look at the left hand side. There's something that we can do there. We can get rid of the brackets, because remember, you can't solve if you have brackets. We need to get rid of the brackets, and then at the later stage we can get that number, get rid of it, and have 0 on that side. So now let's start by cleaning up on this side. So we have